Good evening, bonsoir. I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. We have Giselle online and Jason, and Bob will join us afterwards. Mayor Peugeot is on holidays, but she's still with us. So I want to start with the land acknowledgement. I'd like to begin the meeting by acknowledging that we are in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Robinson-Huron Treaty area and wish to recognize the neighboring community of Doki's First Nation. While we meet today, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. So with that, I will need a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Roger and Councillor Dave.
It is duly moved and seconded that the agenda be adopted as presented.
All those in favor? Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Are there any, there is no delegations tonight. So we will continue on to reports and items for consideration. We have 6.1 general government. We have nothing to present tonight. 6.2 finances. 6.2.1, we have a resolution to adopt the budget bylaw. And so I need a mover and a seconder, and then we can Councillor Dean and Councillor Dave. Does anybody have any questions for Mark or any questions about the budget? We're seeing, I think we're all good. Mayor Peugeot, are you good? Good? Okay, so I believe Mel,
Yep.
you have a resolution to be read?
Yes. So it is moved and seconded that bylaw 2024-10, being a bylaw to adopt the 2024 operating and capital budget for the municipality of French River, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
All those in favor? Okay, we are good. 6.2.2, we have the annual reporting of the council statement of remuneration. So I believe Mark Fleury will speak to this.
It's the annual requirement to report on the council remuneration. So this is a legal requirement on the municipality. So it's reported to council every year in March, and it's due March 31st. So that's why it's done in March.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mark in regards to this? I believe it was just a report on it. So it's in our packages. Thank you, Mark. We'll continue on to 6.3, Public Works and Environmental Services. 6.3.1, Landfill Monitoring and Consulting Engineering Services. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Dave and Councillor Will. And
So it is moved and seconded, being that bylaw 2024-11, being a bylaw to authorize the landfill monitoring and consulting engineering services agreement renewal with EXP Services, Inc., be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
all those in favor? Good. So 6.4, we have Recreation Community Services. We have nothing to report this time around. I believe maybe just the only thing is that our midget minor hockey are on their last night of minor hockey. And then that'll be it for our minor hockey teams in our area. So till next fall. 6.5, Emergency and Protection Services. We have a resolution to adopt a bylaw to appoint a new hearing officer under the administrative monetary penalty system. So need a mover and a seconder first. So Councillor Roger and Mayor Peugeot.
Moved and seconded that bylaw 2024-12, being a bylaw to appoint a hearing officer under the administrative monetary penalty system, be read at first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Anybody have any questions for Mel? Seeing none, all in favor? We're good. Okay, 6.6, we have building and planning and development. We have nothing to report tonight. We have correspondence. So in our correspondence, we have 7.1. We have a request for a letter of support from the Sudbury East Accessible Transportation Program. I need a mover and a seconder, Counselor Will and Counselor Dave. And did you want to speak to this, Mayor Pajot, or to the letter, or no, you're good?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is that in order for SEAT to continue, the funding is terminated as of March of next year. And MTO, who were the principal funders, said that we could apply for the gas tax. This is the provincial gas tax, not the federal one. And it would work out to about $780 for a program that costs about $80,000 a year. And about 80% of the users are from French River. So I can't imagine continuing the program where we would have to fork out about 80% of the cost. So if we send that letter, it gives the SEAT people the authority to look for other funding in order to keep the program going.
Okay, thank you very much. So I believe we have a motion here. So Melanie will read the motion.
So it's moved and seconded, whereas the funding from MTO's Community Transportation Grant Program will be ending on March 31st, 2025. Be it resolved that the municipality of French River is not in favor of accepting the gas tax program for 2025 as funding towards the Sudbury East Accessible Transportation Program.
All those in favor? Okay, we are good. We'll continue on to 7.2, the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. There's a request for support. So we have a resolution. I believe everybody probably had a chance to read it. So I need a mover and a seconder to support this. Counselor Dave, Counselor Will.
Just gonna move this around. Was duly moved and seconded, whereas the current provincial municipal fiscal arrangements are undermining Ontario's economic prosperity and quality of life. And whereas nearly a third of municipal spending in Ontario is for services in areas of provincial responsibility, and expenditures are outpacing provincial contributions by nearly $4 billion a year. And whereas municipal revenues, such as property taxes, do not grow with the economy or inflation. And whereas unprecedented population and housing growth will require significant investments in municipal infrastructure. And whereas municipalities are being asked to take on complex health and social challenges like homelessness, supporting asylum seekers, and addressing the mental health and addictions crisis. And whereas inflation, rising interest rates, and provincial policy decisions are sharply constraining municipal fiscal capacity. And whereas property taxpayers, including people on fixed incomes and small businesses, can't afford to subsidize income redistribution programs for those most in need. And whereas the province can and should invest more in the prosperity of communities. Whereas municipalities and the provincial government have a strong history of collaboration. Therefore, be it resolved that the municipality of French River asks the province of Ontario to commit to undertaking with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario a comprehensive social and economic prosperity review to promote the stability and sustainability of municipal finances across Ontario. And further, that a copy of this motion be sent to the Premier of Ontario, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of Finance, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the leaders of the opposition, and the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities.
Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. So we have 7.3, age-friendly communities strategy. We have a request for support from the Seniors Community Grant application, and we have a resolution for this, so I need a mover and a seconder. Counselor Dave and Counselor Roger.
It is moved and seconded that council approves to issue a letter of support for the French River Public Library submission to the Seniors Community Grant Program funding application as part of the local development and implementation of the age-friendly communities strategy.
All those in favor? Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder for the consent agenda. Counselor Dave, Counselor Will.
Moved and seconded, be it resolved that council approves the items of the consent agenda under section 8.1.
All those in favor? Okay, that is good. We have no items that were separated. We have no notices of motions, announcement and inquiries. Do we start with Counselor Roger? Okay, Counselor Will,
I have nothing today.
Counselor Dean,
I'm just going to say something kind of an interesting comment. I think that Dry Pine Bay, where I live, is 99% ice-free in the middle of this month of March, which is really a month ahead of normal. And I just think that's an interesting statistic or interesting fact. Never seen anything quite like that. And I mean, we're looking out our front windows at open water, right to the other end of the bay to the golf course. It's just incredible. See that this time of year, usually it's still all ice out there. I guess that's all. Just a curious thing.
Counselor Dave,
I didn't really have anything, but to add to that, this is the first time I could pick up sap, except for just snow, but I could pick up sap in my running shoes in the bush. The leaves are crunching. It was so dry before this little snow. It was unbelievable. No mud.
Mayor Pajot, do you have any announcements?
I do. Well, first of all, I want to congratulate Councillor Dean Wenborn on being honored last week for 60 years of service on the Fréchette dams, and certainly made me very proud. And I know that was a surprise to Dean when they did this. And I'm sorry I had to lie to you and pretend that I was trying to get some information to you, to pretend that there was a student involved in there. But the honor is very, very well deserved. So very proud of you, Councillor Dean. So big hand for you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pajot. It was a huge surprise to me when that occurred, and how it got out on social media here. Well, it's because there's a talkative guy that used to work for me years ago, and he found out about it, and he's the one that put it on social media. So then I got all kinds of comments from people, which I guess I'll say again, just makes me feel old when people talk about 60 years.
Yeah, but you were 5 when you started?
Well, I agree with Councillor Dave. I think you were probably a child right there. The other announcement I have is before I left for holidays, I received some great news from DSAB. As you know, we lost funding, about $45,000 a year from DSAB for the gift certificates. And before I left for holidays, I received notice that they were going to award us one-time $20,000 to continue the gift certificate program for the food bank, which I think is truly, truly important. So kind of fun to leave on a high note to get to the pool. So what can I say? And that's it for me.
Well, that's great news. Nothing, maybe just congratulate, say thank you to the Children's Club that had the Easter breakfast and activities for the Easter egg hunt last Monday during March break. And the library hosted many great activities. I know they had a lot of children participate in that, so that was good. And I think the Rapids saw their last game on Saturday night, so they're gone for the season. And I guess it's maple, I see a lot of people are in the bush making some maple syrup. So it's kind of nice, except for today's weather is a little, you left in the right time, Giselle. We got a little snow today. So, and
So I
that's,
hear. So I hear.
so I think that's it for me. So I believe we need a mover and a seconder to go into closed session now. So Counselor Roger and Counselor Will. So we will be back.
So it's
Oh.
moved in second, be it resolved that the meeting be closed as authorized in the municipal act pursuant to section 239(2)H. Information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, a province or territory, or a crown agency of any of them, with respect to the Nouvelle Ontario Provincial Police Detachment.
All those in favor? Okay. We'll be back.